It just shook and shook and shook, and the wall just opened up. It scared those, out of me.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, and there's a woman in there right now. She's trapped.
In this country, an earthquake struck Pasadena, California today.
It happened again tonight, another earthquake about 9 o'clock.
Roger. This is California Hospital to all Central Area hospitals.
The beauty of this state is almost entirely due to the tectonic activity. You can't have one without the other.
Building after building went crashing to the ground.
And rescue crews have just uncovered a pocket.
It brings to 14 the total number of minor shakers.
911 emergency. I don't seem like I can take much more. I know, just hang in there.
And home for the Giants, one of the most spectacular vistas on this continent, any continent. Downtown San Francisco in the background, and we zoom into Candlestick Park in the southeastern corner of this city. For the first time in 27 years, a World Series game will be played in Candlestick Park. The Battle of the Bay continues.
Candy Maldonado with the hesitation, allowing Jose Canseco to score, and he fails to get Dave Parker at second base, so the Oakland A's take.
I'll tell you what, they have an
But first, it helps to understand the immense scale of the forces involved. Underwater eruptions are continuously forming new crust for the Earth, as the ocean floor spreads apart a few inches every year. The sea floor moves outwards from these spreading centers. 60 million years ago, the North American continent was drifting fast to the west. It rode over the Pacific plate so quickly that this ocean plate did not have time to sink down into the mantle. Instead, it scraped close below the continental plate. The friction crumpled and shortened the continent to form the Rocky Mountain Range. This went on for about 20 million years.
Morning of April 18, 1906, the city of San Francisco was rocked by an earthquake of frightening proportions. Building after building went crashing to the ground as the first tremor lasted a nightmarish 2 minutes. Walls of the city's masonry buildings collapsed, tumbling their occupants to death and injury. Hundreds were crushed, suffocated, and trapped as floors and roofs fell through to cellars. And then the panic was increased by the sickening horror of fire. Unchecked, the fire devoured everything in its path as day wore into night. Valiantly, San Francisco fought on. For 3 days, the blaze continued, and finally, it was over. Dynamited buildings on Van Ness Avenue stopped the fire. San Francisco was left to mourn its dead and its destruction. The citizens wandered in a daze among the smoldering rubble of their once proud city. 4 square miles of the California town had been reduced to charred ruins. Damage was estimated in excess of $500 million. Over 28,000 buildings were leveled, a frightening toll of death and destruction caused by the most tragic earthquake to ever strike the North American continent. From tent cities and the wreckage of thousands of residences rose the modern-day
of earthquakes. Soon after the 1906 earthquake, it became evident that a single geological feature dominated California's long history of seismic activity. The feature was named after the lake that it forms just south of San Francisco. Today, it is known as the San Andreas Fault. Geologists believe that the San Andreas Fault may be the border between two huge portions of the Earth's crust called plates. The Pacific Plate, which includes the western sliver of California, is moving slowly northwestward with relation to the North American Plate. Strain builds along the San Andreas Fault. Generally, friction between plates causes the locking of rocks along the fault. When the locking rocks give way, the strain built up over long periods of time is released in a matter of seconds. The result is an earthquake.
Earthquakes have happened in every state of the United States, but the most vulnerable is California. The San Andreas Fault runs almost the whole length of the state, and another shorter one brackets the Bay Area of San Francisco. In addition to the major faults, there is a whole slew of lesser ones. Periodically, the people of California get a gruesome reminder of what can happen when the Earth suddenly moves.
Long Beach, we sight shattered houses all along the way. See them down there, some with families buried in the ruins. Everywhere, houses have collapsed. The quakes, about half an hour apart, shook this huge bank just as a terrier shakes a rat, which crushed a woman passing in front of the building.
Rescue workers worked through the night, feeling their way through the debris, and Long Beach became a city under armed guard. Hasty defenses against looting and other crimes were put into operation. Survivors huddled outside their ruined homes, not knowing where to go. People were still unable to accept the suddenness of the violent change. Places a person had known all his life were now unrecognizable. Everyday indoor existence had suddenly been cast into the street as walls dropped away and exposed interiors.
And now survivors will tell you what happened.
We were sitting listening to the radio when the quake first come, and then trying to get out. It threw us down a number of times.
I was thrown on the floor, and the chimney came right down into the room.
Volunteers worked hard to remove the wreckage, seeking victims and salvaging everything they could find in the debris. And here's a hotel where 7 girls lost their lives. Many of the rooms were cut in two when the wall of the building fell. leaving the interior exposed. In Compton, 50 automobiles were wrecked by toppling masonry. Most of the cars weren't even good for junk.
The first magnitude scale was set up in 1935. You were responsible for that, and it's been known ever since as the Richter scale.
Yes, and I find that many persons still have the impression that it is some kind of instrument, a scale like a measuring stick. Actually, it is an organized method of using the indication of instruments for which we evaluate the magnitude. It was hard to persuade many people in Southern California that the destructive Long Beach earthquake of 1933 was a minor event compared to the Great California earthquake of 1906.
What would be the Richter magnitudes on those?
We usually give the 1906 earthquake 8 1/4, the 1933 Long Beach 6 1/4. In California, there are so many active faults that practically any locality is exposed to the risk of strong shaking in the long run, sooner or later. People who have an unreasonable fear of earthquakes simply oughtn't to try to live in California. There just is no safe area.
Pull this out. We'll have to give it a try. Wait a minute. This is actually going through.
Attention, all residents. We are evacuating this area immediately.
All people in this area must leave immediately. You have 1 hour to evacuate.
Taking the dogs with you? I believe it, too. They're pretty good talkers. Keep hanging with mine. I started worrying when I saw the first broadcast what was left of the dam. 2 feet of mud's not enough.
You mean you're standing here and the dam's right above your house and...
I'm going to take a chance. I have a boat in the garage, too. I think I'll pull that out. Yeah. Just in case.
About 6 emergency shelters in the area, in schools and gymnasiums and auditoriums, but a great deal of them will probably be absorbed by friends and relatives in the area. We probably need some helicopter evacuation, and we've already taken steps to get that moving.
There's a woman by the name of Ellen in there.
That's my mother.
Here she comes. All right.
I want to go back.
Well, from all indications, the fireman says that she seems to be all right. She's even asked for a glass of water.
That's typical of her.
No water.
No water?
None. No water, no gas.
All water in the San Fernando Valley and the city of San Fernando is contaminated, and citizens are advised to boil drinking water.
You don't have any water at your house?
It's not good at all. Terrible.
Really?
I live from Van Nuys, and I came all the way here to get some water, but it's so terrible. Tired. I'd like to go home.
I just talked to President Nixon less than a half an hour ago after I finished the briefing session, and he's terribly concerned. He was in an earthquake himself. He happened to be going to Whittier College in 1933 when the Long Beach earthquake occurred. He remembers very well the collapse of the high school auditorium there, the damage to the grade school, and you don't want to be in another one if you've been in one.
And 6 one-stop disaster assistance centers are being set up. Temporary housing, rent-free, for those in direst need. Aid on mortgages and rents for others in danger of losing their damaged homes. Legal services, liberalized small business and farmers' home loans. Unemployment insurance, re-employment aid for those whose jobs have been wiped out. Food stamps and surplus foods for the hungry. Help in removing debris from private property.
I don't think little trivial things are going to matter with the dam anymore.
I want to go home. There's no place like home.
And before that the situation in San Fernando is under control. We're breaking up slightly.
Attention, folks. Good news. Van Norman Reservoir is down. We're now free to return to your homes.
July 1972. A new kind of satellite leaps toward orbit. NASA is working to support earthquake research being done by the U.S. Geological Survey. The Landsat satellite, formerly called EARTH, has been yielding some valuable new information.
Ron, let's see if we can identify some of these faults you found on the aircraft, Tim.
If we look at this on the Earth's image, we can extend it to about 60 miles. The more exciting is one down here on the Earth's image, a very major structure, cuts across the whole mountain range. We've never known about it before until we had the Earth's image.
Entire fault systems revealed for the first time by satellite. Scientists hope that applying space technology to this earthly problem may one day enable them to say, here the stress has reached its limit. Here, about such and such a day, an earthquake will occur.
To learn more about when and where earthquakes might occur, geologists study many kinds of movement along the San Andreas Fault. Hundreds of minor tremors occur along the fault every year. most of them so slight that they can be detected only by very sensitive instruments. Seismometers on the fault zone measure these tremors and relay the information to data collecting stations by radio. This information, translated to seismograms, provides a continuous picture of tremor activity in the fault zone. Current conditions are monitored and data is fed into computers. The computers combine data compiled over many years and translate it into visual form. A computer provides a graphic readout of seismic activity in the San Francisco Bay Area. Geologists estimate that the strain in the fault's northern reaches is already approaching the level that preceded the devastating earthquake of 1906.
There is not very much one can do when an earthquake is happening. We are always asked what to do when there is an earthquake. It's easier to answer and say what not to do when there is an earthquake. Yes. In short, don't panic. Don't run downstairs. Don't overload the telephone switchboards with unnecessary calls. Don't rush into disaster areas and get in the way of people doing relief work. And, of course, don't listen to and pass on the wild rumors that are always in circulation at such times.
Dr. Richter, what is the viewpoint of you and of your colleagues on this matter of earthquake prediction?
Well, in the present state of knowledge, no one is in a position to predict an earthquake. We can, of course, tell where earthquakes are likely to happen, but not when. It is very rare that an earthquake of any consequence happens without being accompanied by other and usually smaller foreshocks and aftershocks. Building regulations and state laws apply largely only to new construction, and even those codes do not include all the known engineering safeguards. And we must remember that in the case of schools and other public buildings, still nothing can be accomplished without community action.
The scientists say there's going to be a major earthquake in California. It's just a matter of time.
They've been saying that since the day I came here in 1946, and I'm still waiting. So far, it hasn't happened. Don't believe everything the scientists tell you.
I mean, why do you live here?
I love it. I love California.
I tell you, I have a lot of fun during an earthquake. My refrigerator at one time was in the living room. Now it's in a bedroom. You see what I mean by that? The earthquake, put it over there, and it's very handy. I open it right by my bed, and I eat and have a good time. Yeah, earthquakes are not bad.
On these two fault lines, we have an earthquake. Pressure, 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 slip.
Injured, who are they? Theo, Edmund, and Laura Hudson. Laura really has a sore foot, so I don't want her to knock the doors. Okay, we'll work something out.
If the earthquake were to hit tomorrow, would you be ready?
Absolutely not, and we never will be. Because basically the whole substructure of modern medicine is going to disappear. I mean, we count on, first of all, having a physically intact building, of having electricity, of having natural gas piped in, of having fresh, unlimited
It was followed by at least 15 aftershocks. Its epicenter was in Whittier Narrows, about 15 miles from Los Angeles.
Oh, there's an earthquake here in Los Angeles. My goodness, a live earthquake right here. My God. And I don't think anything's going to fall on me. Here. I'm watching the lights. Are we still there? I think we've lost you, Clark.
When it finally stopped, the nation's second largest city had virtually been brought to its knees by the most powerful earthquake to hit there in 16 years.
For 6 people caught in the quake, today was the last day of their lives, and in some cases, death came violently as the ground shook.
Hundreds of others were injured, and more still suffered heart attacks.
And here's another aftershock or another earthquake happening right now. I'm not sure which. I'm going to get under this desk. I apologize for the theatrics. Okay.
The damage was immediate and widespread. The quake also shook up Southern California's freeways. Cracks and other damage forced the closure of several of them. Airports were closed too, briefly.
It could have been a lot worse. That's what officials and residents of the Southern California town of Calexico are saying.
Well, at least the building didn't fall down and we can fix this, and none of us were in there and we're alive. And we can start again.
Our chimney fell, and there are cracks in the wall and everything. It is awesome.
I feel fortunate, yes, but I have no place to go now. This is my home.
Probably one of the most horrible experiences of my life.
Were you scared?
No, oh no. Oh no, I have Jesus. When you have the Lord, you don't really get frightened.
26 years, this is one of the strongest ones that I remember, and God forbid, I hope nothing hits us any harder.
Scientists say there's a 1 in 20 chance of a bigger quake in the next few days. Not great, but after today, not the kind of odds Southern
And home for the Giants, one of the most spectacular vistas on this continent, any continent. Downtown San Francisco in the background, and we zoom into Candlestick Park. Take. I'll tell you what, we're having an earthquake.
As you can see by what's happening to the blinds in back of us, we're having an earthquake in Northern California, somewhere around the Sacramento region. We will still continue to bring the news to you, of course. Hopefully there will be no bad news to tell. As a matter of fact, it's been a long time in coming. I don't like earthquakes.
Oh my God, we're having an earthquake. Wait a minute. Hold on. Can you feel that? I sure can. Okay, this is interesting. There go the lights. Oh.
We are in commercial, I guess.
This is Cheryl Jennings in the Channel 7 newsroom. As you may have noticed, our power was knocked out just as some of the pre-game activities for the World Series was getting underway. That game is scheduled to start any moment now. Our power has been off for almost 15 minutes, and the reason, if you do not know by now, was a major earthquake.
The quake apparently lasted 15 seconds. Officials say part of the Bay Bridge, which links the city to Oakland, has collapsed. There is the report of one fire in the area.
It terrified people. There was yelling and screaming almost instantaneously. Obviously, people are terribly nervous here. The power is off in Candlestick Park.
Get outside.
Exit, please. Let's go.
Get outside. Get outside. We're out of the street.
We're getting a lot of information. There are reports of some injuries, minor at this point. The water mains leaking everywhere. We have a report of a person trapped in an elevator in Shelter Bay. A brick in Sausalito has hit a person on the head. The 911 system is down in some areas.
Biggest one we've ever felt.
The whole tower was undulating and the catwalk was undulating. The pole was moving like, I'd say at least 10 or 12 feet back and forth like that.
I've never felt more unsecure in my life, so helpless.
There has been a power failure, therefore the game will be postponed. We ask that you hold on to your tickets as rain checks will be honored. Thank you.
We're here at the UC Berkeley seismology station where they reported the strong earthquake. It is in fact a 7.0 on the Richter scale. Been numerous aftershocks since then.
Anna, do you have some late information coming out
We're
here?
just getting reports from our crews on the scene that there is a major fire that has erupted in Oakland. At least one fire has become a problem.
Now, I believe that we are still running on generator power here at KGO.
I understand that we have a picture because we don't have any monitors here, do we?
No, we have no way of seeing what we're showing you.
This is, I think, one of the strongest earthquakes that I've felt in the 18 years that I've lived here. Maybe, probably the strongest.
Hospitals on red alert.
They sent us down here, surprisingly, in the wrong direction. There's another car. Gosh! Thomas, we need to go down there and help.
Okay, we have a chopper at the Bay Bridge right now. Are we seeing pictures? Okay, so I understand that we are looking at a live picture of the damage to the Bay Bridge in the Bay Area. An entire section of the Bay Bridge has been lost.
There's some indication that perhaps cars were trapped under the collapse.
It is now 5:15, Tuesday, 17th of October, 1989. Helicopters are in the area. The bridge has collapsed. 2 cars. No one is injured at this time.
Pieces, crumblings coming from the top of the bridge. One man described it as being in the twilight zone and just not having any sense of reality. It was all so bizarre, all so frightening and scary. You're seeing a car that attempted to drive over this 50-foot gap in the Bay Bridge. It has been like a drama here. It has been dangling from the edge, the precipice behind me, and these folks are just getting rescued right now. Just below me is where this crack in the Bay Bridge occurred, a 50-foot section. You see down there below the two cars that were on the upper deck when the bridge collapsed. They fell below.
When Anna was down in the street, she said people began laughing at first when they felt the first quake. And then she said people started screaming because it was so terrifying. This is Pier 23. I don't know if we can see it. We can see, cracks in the street. These folks seem to be taking this in stride. They don't look too upset about it. But I tell you, if they were inside a building like this with lights and TVs falling on them, I think they would have been as shaken as we are. Okay, we have pictures on the air now. That is the Cypress section of the Nimitz Freeway. And you can see, oh my God, look at that. The freeway has just completely collapsed.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in there. There's a woman in there right now. She's trapped in there. We need a hydraulic jack to get her out of there.
All right, here we go.
That one.
Yeah, give me that one.
Look out, no, don't throw it, don't throw it.
All right, go back up, go.
What's going on in there? Sir, it's total chaos. It's terrible. It's terrible. There's a lot of people under there that's pent. Most of them, we got most of them out, but there's quite a few that's just no help.
And what this man is doing, like many did, is to look underneath this structure to see if any people were trapped. And we have unofficial reports that some people were pulled from beneath the steel.
Many, many rescue operations are still going on at this scene in Oakland.
John called the governor's office and got some information there. The governor's out of the country, but we're beginning to get a lot of information in here. And obviously the federal government will do everything that possibly can to help. But really, this point is just...
say again, the unreinforced masonry is taking the brunt of the damage. Water mains all over both Oakland and San Francisco have ruptured.
I know there is a fire in what would be the Marina District. We're very close to it. It's not far from Fisherman's Wharf, and that appears to be the most serious of the fires that I'm able to see at this particular point.
You've got serious problems, obviously. Go home and secure your residence. Shut off the gas, shut off electricity, store water, prepare for aftershocks, prepare for 3 days of no services. You got 90 minutes of life left. You better make use of your time. Go, prepare yourselves. Prepare yourselves. Shut off the gas, shut off electricity, store water in your bathtub. Don't expect services for 72 hours, okay? Prepare yourself for nightfall. You have about 1 hour of light left. Prepare for aftershocks. Make sure your building is sound enough to go back inside. We have a lot of down buildings. We're looking at 3-story buildings such as this one and this one here that are now 1 story. I have no idea how many people inside.
Take a blow, bud. We got a 96-year-old lady next door. What is her name? She's up on the 3rd floor in the back. 3rd floor in the back. Right next door, next door. Back up, right?
There is no traffic, there is no way across the bay right now via the bridge.
You can see San Francisco is in blackness still. None of the lights are on in the downtown area of San Francisco.
This is where they're putting people who have not been able to find hotel space. As you can imagine, the hotels are jammed out here around the airport. Some people just can't find any place to sleep or to stay. So they've brought them to the South Terminal. They're sleeping here. The airport continues to be closed.
This is so much worse than we at first thought. We are at the Cypress Street overpass. Those cars, those people still trapped underneath there. A rescue is ongoing right now for a little girl and a little boy who are trapped in a car up there.
We did get one child out. We've been working for the last 45 minutes trying to free the other child. It's real total chaos right now. It's going to take days, if not weeks, just to find whatever survivors and other victims there are in there.
There are voices coming from some of the vehicles on that lower ramp of the freeway. And there are hundreds of volunteers doing what they can to try to locate those voices and try to get in and save as many folks as they possibly can.
These are live pictures now from San Francisco, just being received from our CBS affiliate KPIX. Live pictures from San Francisco. Now, the fires are not widespread in the San Francisco area, but they are dotting the landscape of the city. That is primarily because of older gas lines which were broken by the earthquake, and then some sort of spark set off the fires. Most of the fires, we are told, are in areas of the city where there is older construction. By that we mean buildings that went up prior to the Second World War or shortly after the Second World War during the huge building boom in San Francisco.
They're afraid that this fire is going to spread because there is no water in any of the fire hydrants. A lot of the residents from the marina are trying to help them pull the hoses. They're having to take them at least 4 blocks up in order to get this fire out. They still have not been able to shut off the gas, and that is the biggest problem. They are trying to find out where that is. Please stay away from the marina area, and of course, don't smoke. I know that sounds foolish, but some people are even doing it back on the Marina Green. You had to tell them to stop.
Yeah, how did you get out?
By the window. People we never knew and they never knew us, but they carried us in their arms down the stairs, and even now some young folks that are very, very kind of helping us to find a shelter.
There's no place else to go if you live in the East Bay. How do you get there?
It's obvious that you're pregnant.
I think you got a good shot of adrenaline, that's for sure. But I'm due a week from Thursday, so it's pretty close. There's a doctor here, so it's probably a good place for me.
We have quite a bit of damage in the downtown area, mostly rubble from older buildings and also from some new buildings as well. So this earthquake did not show any favorites. Old buildings and new buildings alike were damaged throughout the downtown area.
I see all the people that died on the Nimitz Freeway and everything. I just feel sorry. My heart goes out to them.
There are very few spaces that people can get to right now.
Attention, this is the Sheriff's Department. Many buildings are structurally unsound and subject to falling. You are to leave the area immediately. Please do not cross the barricades that have been put up. If you're not a business owner or the holder of a media press card, you do not belong in the area. Many buildings are structurally unsound and subject to falling. You are to leave the area immediately.
Murphy's alive! Murphy, come here! Kitty! He's alive! Murphy!
I don't believe it.
I don't know what I'm going to be doing, what's going to happen next. All my memories are there. Everything I had was in that building.
Those of us that survived, we want to have something to take back home. We want to have something to commemorate the earthquake.
The first thing I thought of was how lucky I was because so many people were crashed. All the things we took for granted, I realized.
I love San Francisco. It can shake, rattle, and roll as long as it wants to. I'm not going to move out.
I'd never leave here.
The evidence of some extent of foundation failure. This is the kind of thing that people can have to deal with for a long time.
The city came around. We asked him what that meant, if we could enter. He said at your own risk, but he wouldn't spend the night, he said.
The town of Watsonville is just 20 miles from the epicenter. The earthquake has left hundreds of people there homeless.
New estimates from the city are that 200 homes have fallen off their foundations, and they say that hundreds more still have to be inspected. It seems the only thing that homeless people can do is camp out with other victims and wait. It's no wonder people are asking for more help than just a cup of coffee and a cot.
All these people are going to be street people, and they're going to be living in the parking lot, and then sooner or later the city's going to come along and say, hey, you can't do that.
Where are they going to live? And rents are very high.
There are more homeless people than there are shelter beds. The city insists it is doing what it can, and they're hoping for federal assistance to help them solve this housing crisis in Watsonville.
Things have been tense for 2 days now between city officials and thousands of Marina residents displaced from their homes. After last night's aftershocks, there was no getting back in.
So how do you get there? You don't even know where the hell you are. And you can't walk through, you can't drive through. What the hell are you telling us?
City building inspectors have to determine which structures are safe. It's a tedious house-by-house process.
The detailed answer to your question will be available in an hour and 15 minutes. But again, Buffalo V Marina Middle School.
How are you living?
Dirty. You feel like, if you could just get a shower and, there's plenty of food, it seems like most of the time, but, it's hard with the little one, too, keeping them clean and, keeping them clothed, and, there's no place to wash your clothes.
I can't get to my house. I can't find out anything.
It's right there. It's right there, and I have no idea whether or not they determine if my building is one that has to come down. This whole street is pretty much devastated. These guys won't let me even pass the gate, and that's what's frustrating. I mean, we've slept on the floor in the street last night, and you know, it's kind of it's frustrating.
If I could have 15 minutes just to take out my most personal belongings, I don't want to carry out a TV. I just want to get letters and pictures and stuff like that. But I think the chances of that are probably slim.
1 Jefferson Street.
2300 Francisco Street. These are homes that will be demolished. This is the red list.
This is all like a dream. That this isn't the building. This isn't the building that I'll live for 11 years.
The Richter scale is the system seismologists use to measure the magnitude of energy released during an earthquake. Each number on the scale represents an earthquake 10 times stronger than the next lower magnitude. In other words, Tuesday's 7.0 Temblor was less than 1/10 the strength of the 8.3 quake that struck the Bay Area in 1906. The Great Quake of '89, an ABC News special, will continue in a moment.
The earthquake left many of your neighbors without food or shelter.
Here's a way you can help. The American Red Cross provides emergency services to people hit hardest by the quake, but they can't do it alone.
KPIX and 100 stations across the country have joined the Red Cross in a special relief campaign.
Please send your checks payable to the American Red Cross to Heart of the Bay Earthquake Relief Fund, P.O. Box 26555, San Francisco, California, 94126.
If it doesn't survive the fall, that's better than sitting in there and being buried and lose it forever.
What was the most important stuff to you then?
Well, the documents. And IRS information and bank books and checkbooks.
Oh, I'd go back for everything, but I wanted to get out first. It was so terrible.
Both of these women, now homeless, are living with a person they met just days ago.
These two ladies are with me, and we're just doing the best we can. Thank goodness I can do something.
Tents have become home to thousands, some because they can't go in their houses, and some because they're just afraid.
We miss our home, yeah.
But are you scared to go back inside?
Oh, yeah, because this morning was another earthquake, and we ran outside again.
You might not have known this, but Oakland's mail and the rest of Northern California's has to come here first to the San Francisco facility for processing, and then it's distributed to the various cities. Well, with the Bay Bridge closed, getting the mail to the East Bay is not going to be as simple as it once was.
Because of the tremendous problems they're having with transportation over here and the vital nature of the U.S. mail, it was determined that we had the capability and we were available to do this mission.
Geologists say this week's earthquake does not reduce the chances of another big quake in the next 30 years.
We need to have fast, efficient action once people start filling out the kind of applications that they need to in order to receive individual homeowner repair grants or small business loans.
Okay, how long is that going to take? I have no idea, but it should be as soon as we can get it back to the work. Okay, the address I have here is the address that burned down.
But Mayor Agnos admitted that San Francisco is tapped out. The quake sucked up the city's roughly $6 million reserve fund in short order.
Well, I'm deeply moved by this, deeply moved by it. Genuine appreciation for the way this community is pulling together, this state. And when you look at private efforts, just in what we've seen today, neighbor helps neighbor, friend helps friend. People reaches across and tries to lift up those that are hurt. And so I don't know how you put a price tag on it, but that is the American way.
4.4.
That's a pretty good shaker.
That's a good shaker. That's one of the stronger ones we felt.
We just had another aftershock.
Obviously, we've just had an aftershock of considerable strength here in the studio, and I'm sure you felt that in other places compared to the aftershocks in earlier days. I think a bit stronger this time, though hard to tell.
Christ have mercy. Christ have mercy. Don't lose heart. Because Watsonville is going to need people of heart.
first thing he said was, "Thank God I'm alive." We've always kept hope. When the president came, that really lifted our spirits, and I believe that motivated some men to go up there and give it one more try. Everybody was very professional, got the man out as quickly as possible. We were pulling this man out, you could drop a pin. It was total silence. And when he came out, you should have heard those cheers.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
This is really an incredible effort. They went from nothing, a school here, to feeding people gourmet food practically. I mean, if you need a bottle of milk or you need a place to sleep or whatever, you just want to go home, but you know.
Hi again, everyone. I'm Al Michaels. At this very moment, 10 days ago, we began our telecast with an aerial view of San Francisco, always a spectacular sight. Then, of course, that feeling of pure radiance was transformed into horror and grief and despair in 15 seconds. The pictures are embedded in our minds. And while the mourning and the agonizing and the after effects continue, in about 30 minutes, the plate umpire, Vic Voltaggio, will say, "Play ball." And the players will play, the vendors will sell, the crowd will exhort, the announcers will announce.
We're just a step away from final action on earthquake relief money from Sacramento. A package of earthquake relief bills comes up for a final vote in both houses of the legislature in the morning. After a day of committee meetings, the Assembly and Senate have agreed on 12 bills, including a quarter-cent increase in the sales tax. Not as much as some lawmakers want, but it's the only way to get the money flowing fast.
This package represents a good start.
Governor Duke Majan says he'll sign the package early next week.
Live show on stage right here. Come on in. No cover charge here, folks. This is like death warmed over out here. It's just not a lot of people out here for 7 o'clock at night on a Friday night.
The biggest hit negatively has been from the East Bay. We always knew we had a lot of East Bay people, but I don't think most of us really understood how important East Bay people were to our business.
Tonight, work crews on the Bay Bridge are taking another significant step on the road to repair. They are installing the first of several steel beams that will bridge the gap and provide support for the two decks. Caltrans still says the bridge will reopen by Thanksgiving. To accomplish that, crews will be working around the clock.
The last of the earthquake homeless moved out of Marina Middle School today, leaving the school to the students. Families were taken to the Presidio and single men to a Red Cross shelter on Polk Street. The Red Cross says the shelter was closed because most quake refugees who had been staying there were able to find other places to live.
And being homeless is kind of, it's weird. It's just a trauma on me, you know? It's kind of rough.
We have nothing, absolutely nothing.
Dr. Heaton, as I come back to you, let me note again that you're part of Los Angeles' Preparedness Advisory Committee.
I'd like to make a couple of points. The first is that the United States has two cities that have really spent considerable effort preparing for earthquakes. They're San Francisco and Los Angeles.
Give me a pen.
You tell we got monitors knocked off
Okay.
right here in the newsroom.
Okay.
We're here in the Channel 4 newsroom, as you folks, there's no surprise. For any folks this morning, we've been hit with a major earthquake. Half the newsroom behind me has been disheveled, a lot of television monitors knocked off the shelves.
Everything was shaking. All of a sudden, the freeway collapsed. And as you can see now, it's totally demolished.
The scene is northbound 5 and the southbound 14. The overcrossing of the southbound 14, as you can see here, has actually collapsed and pancaked atop the northbound lanes of the Golden State Freeway.
On the Santa Monica Freeway at La Cienega Boulevard, as Laurel Erickson attempts to climb up to the top there that has flattened down to the ground. Laurel, be careful up there.
There's some extraordinary scenes. This is I-5, one of the main freeways in all of California. Can you imagine what it would have been like to be in that truck when the freeway literally dropped away?
What the governor saw here really needs no technical explanation.
Well, it looks familiar. It looks like what we saw on a somewhat grander scale up there at Loma Prieta when the Cypress Freeway came down, but you don't have the double deck effect here. But you know, it's incredible when you think of the force of these quakes and what they can do.
I don't think we really need to see this visually. I think we can all feel it. A substantial aftershock to this morning's earthquake has just rumbled through Southern California. Ron, you're on the air. Is that dust rising up from that?
You cannot believe what I'm looking at. I can see this up to about 15 miles away as that aftershock came through here.
And we'll zoom in and give you an idea of how they are mapping this here at Caltech. The dots that you see represent all of the aftershocks in this area.
We have signals coming in from about 300 stations around Southern California, and the computer looks at all of the arrivals and looks for the beginning of the earthquake, which is an increase in the strength of the signal, and it looks at the time that those happened, and it tries to work backwards to the epicenter and figure out where and when the earthquake occurred.
While the president was on this